to the channel. So I have managed to track the ship and it's now left Tenerife. It left about 15-20 minutes ago, so around 1:45. So it's heading out of Tenerife now to go to Lanzarote for its last Canary Islands cruise. It's doing about 14 knots when I last looked. So it's basically come out of Tenerife and gone straight south like that, and it's going to cut across to Lanzarote. So it'll do around the Canaries now for the next week. So on Monday it will be in Gran Canaria next week till 11 o'clock at night, and then it just goes across the water to Tenerife. So it basically usually gets there about 7:30 in the morning. So it's usually an 8-hour crossing. So that's where it's heading now. Interestingly as well, I went on to Flight Radar, which is another website you can use to track aircraft, and I had a look at the flight that went to Tenerife this morning from East Midlands, and looking on the map of where it took off, the plane wasn't actually parked outside the terminal, it was across the tarmac, and then it actually went down to the bottom end of the runway where the racetrack is and took off towards the motorway. So it took off on the easterly runway. So it went over the M1 and then straight down south, went down the side of Oxford and then down the left-hand side of the Isle of Wight, touched the top of the French coast, went over the Bay of Biscay, and then basically did a slight touching of Spain, and then went straight down the side of Portugal, straight down to Tenerife, and it flew right the way under Tenerife, under Los Cristianos, out to sea, and then came into Tenerife that way, rather than go directly into Tenerife the other way. It went round the island and then in. And apparently the flight should have gone at 12:10. It didn't depart till 1:50. So I don't know why there was a 30-minute delay, and it should have landed at 4:30 and it landed at 5 minutes. So it was a 32-minute delay in landing. So that would mean that people that were going on the ship today were obviously, they were going to be later than, so if they land at 5 o'clock, they're not going to get out of the airport much before 6, and then it's an hour drive to Santa Cruz at 7. So it's going to be really, really touching time if that happens next week when I go out there, because obviously I've got Corallar booked at 9. Now, I mean, okay, if I'd have gone today, then obviously I would have been on that flight, and I would have got out there and landed at 5, got through the airport, got onto the coach, and then it would have been at least an hour drive up to Santa Cruz. It's probably 45 minutes. I mean, looking on the map, I think it's 65 kilometres. I'll have another look, but I know it's about 40 miles from the airport in Tenerife South right the way up to the Santa Cruz, because you basically go up a motorway straight up. So I suppose it's probably the distance of going from Alicante to Benidorm. So, and also from Stoke to East Midlands Airport. So you're probably looking at around the same kind of time. So if I go from work to East Midlands Airport, it's 38.5 miles. Exactly, because I've driven it. And I've driven from the car park at East Midlands to work as well. And it's 38.5 miles exactly, which takes about 55 minutes. Maybe less if you drive to the speed limit. I mean, I don't drive over 70 miles an hour. I try and keep it around 55 to 60 because I like to keep my revs down to 2,500 because I get more miles to the gallon out of the car. But anyway, roughly the average time it'll take is around an hour. So if it landed at 2 minutes past 5, most of those passengers probably got out of the airport at 5:45 after getting the bags and getting the passport stamped, and obviously then getting onto the bus. And then it also depends how many coaches are there the other end, because you've got to remember there's other flights that are coming. It's not just East Midlands, but it's one airport out of many. So there's flights coming into Tenerife from all airports in the UK: Leeds, Bradford, Exeter, Bournemouth, Cardiff, Manchester, Liverpool, probably, if they go with EasyJet, or Jet2. They might do a Jet2 flight only and then get the ship. It is possible. I know Susan Kelman did on that TV programme. There's also Norwich Airport. There's Newcastle in up north. There's the Scottish airports. And obviously there's Birmingham Airport as well, and Bristol. So and London airports as well, Luton. Gatwick, Stansted. There's loads of airports where the flights are going to be going into Tenerife, so there'll be several coaches put on. So again, it depends how many buses are going to be in front of you when you get to the port. So you might think, oh, we're the first to go, but then you get up the motorway and you might overtake a couple of TUI coaches and you think, well, we're beating them, but fair enough. But then you get to the port and there might be 3 or 4 and you've got to wait. So it's not just a matter of get off the bus, get into the terminal and get onto the ship. It isn't that simple. I don't know what the cruise terminal is like at Tenerife. I've seen pictures of it, because obviously the ship's docked on an angle at the port normally. So you go into the main building and then you go out the other side and then you walk down the side of this wall and then the ship's docked like on an angle and you walk down a path down the side of it. So again, it all depends on how long it's going to take to get through the check-in. So probably most of the passengers that were on that ship today probably didn't get on board much before 7:30, which to me would be okay, which to me is fine, because that still gives you an hour and a half. It gives me an hour and a half until I go and have dinner in Coral. But at the same time, I've got to go to my room and then I've got to watch the muster drill, and you have to watch the complete loop, because when you go in the room, it won't be on from the beginning. It might be halfway through, and you have to watch it until it gets the complete loop. Once you've watched it, just have a shower. I'm just going to have a shower, and then obviously I'll change into my clothes for going to Coral. So even if I'm done doing that by 8 o'clock, that still gives me 60 minutes to basically go around the decks, do some video footage, because even if I can't do it after I've had a shower, I can always go around the decks during sea day the next day, because obviously we've got 2 days at sea when we leave Tenerife, so I can always do a deck tour the next day, because a lot of people will be outside on the pool deck, you know, and I can go inside and do some video footage around the decks. I can just do my own deck tour. So it's not a problem for me, and I'm on it for the 8 days, so I've got plenty of opportunity to do footage on the decks anyway. Even in an evening, I can do some deck footage. I don't have to do it all in one go. I can do bits, do some decks one day and some decks another, or parts of the deck another day. So I will obviously make sure that I'm exploring as much of the ship as possible. So there'll be plenty of footage, plenty of live streams done as well. So I'm not going to worry too much, but if I can get on the ship earlier than people did today, again, that's just giving me an example of what happened today. Next week, it could be completely different. I get to East Midlands, board the flight, and it goes on time. So, again, it's different each week. It just so happened that it left at 20:01 today, got to Tenerife at 5 o'clock. So most people will have got on the ship, most likely by 6:30, 7 o'clock anyway. And if I'm on board by 7 o'clock, 7:15, that's fine. That still gives me an hour and 3/4 till dinner. I can obviously have a shower, get the video watched, get changed, and then go and do a deck tour. And obviously just head up towards Coral. Obviously go and get the card scanned when it's time to do that. Go and have dinner, and then the ship will probably depart around 11:15 like it did earlier. So, and then I'll be out on the deck, even if it's just after we've left, even if it's only a few minutes after we've pulled away from the dock, and I get out there, it doesn't matter, because I'll just video it. As I think, well, okay, I've missed a few minutes of it leaving, but we've only just pulled away. It's not a problem. I can zoom in where we were and obviously video what's there and take photographs. So I'll be doing a live stream, so there's plenty to look forward to. So please subscribe to the channel, and I'll obviously leave that at the end because I'll put an outro on. So I'm still trying to download these videos from today from Peak Wildlife Park. They are nearly finished, so I will get them on. But for now, I'll put this one on the channel, and then I'll obviously do a playlist on Sunday when I do the video to start the series. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the series that's coming up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.